Good morning and welcome to our webinar, What to Expect, the Initial Consultation with Marshall, Parker, and Weber. I'm certified elder law attorney, Tammy Weber, and I'm glad that you're joining us. You know, you might not know, or you're thinking, I need an appointment, but I'm not quite sure how those things work at Marshall, Parker, and Weber. I want to get my estate planning in control, and maybe you're thinking, what if something happens down the line, like that happened to my grandfather or my parent that needs a nursing home stay? What should I be doing? So our mission really is to help you develop your own customized plan and protect your home, your loved ones, your assets. Get things where you'd like them to go. Today we're going to cover many topics: how our scheduling works, our client questionnaire, your preparation for that initial consultation, what we do to prepare, then what happens at the initial consultation, how you're going to know the cost of services, and what happens after we've completed the initial consultation. So what can you do before you schedule? Well, thinking is a big part of this, reflection and the like. So think about what your goals are. For example, who do you want to handle your finances or your healthcare decisions if you can't? Who do you want to receive your assets when you're gone? Are you concerned about paying for nursing home care if you have to go? Perhaps you have a family business and you want to transition it to the next generation. And then review what you have in place. First, you have to find it, but go dig out those binders or documents and see if you have powers of attorney, which is the lifetime document, a will. Some people have their deeds, or different kinds of trusts, revocable or irrevocable trusts. Another important part of reflection and seeing what you have is who are your beneficiaries. So look for them on your life insurance, your annuities, or any of your retirement accounts. And then you can go to our website, paelderlaw.com, many blog articles on various topics. We also have webinars that have been saved on our YouTube channel. And we also have a Help Me Decide tool, which we find is helpful to people zeroing in on what it is they need to do. And then we need you to schedule your appointment. How does that work? Well, you can call our 800 number, 800-401-4552, or you can look at our online contact form, or you can send an email to webmail@paelderlaw.com. Any of those ways will lead you to our scheduling coordinator, and she will have a discussion with you either by the phone or online and ask you some general information. What is it, what do you need? What kind of appointment? Which office? So currently we have offices in Williamsport, Plains, and Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania. And your appointment can be in person, it can be virtual, or it can be by phone. We have Zoom technology. And even if you are sitting in one of our offices, we can Zoom in your family if you want other people to be in there and hear what's going on. We also like virtual or Zoom, as do many of our clients, for safety concerns, even in the cold and flu season, or if we're in the middle of a pandemic, as we are currently, it makes it a bit safer. We also, depending on the climate, do home or facility visits, and of course it would depend on the facility rules in place at that time. And then our scheduling coordinator would ask you who is attending, virtually or in person. Just note that if it's in person during pandemic times, there might be a maximum limit of people that could be here with you. And then you're going to receive, once you set up and pick the time and the mode of appointment, you're going to receive a written confirmation either by mail or email. And that confirmation will include either directions to our office if you're coming in person, or the phone number or the links for your virtual appointment. It will also include a link or hard copy of the Client Questionnaire. We'd like you to complete that and return it 3 days prior to your consultation, and that really gives you the best advice and the best use of your 1 hour consultation. So we're going to go over the Client Questionnaire. So you'll see the face sheet. It's confidential. So everything, when you're working with an attorney, there's an attorney-client relationship, and it's always confidential. You may choose to tell others about what's going on, but we won't. So the second page of your questionnaire says why it's very important. So we need to understand the big picture. Often people say they did something online and it was check the box, and we do not believe that this gives you the best customized and thorough plan. So we're going to ask you a lot of questions. So we know there's a lot of personal information on this form. It doesn't go anywhere, but trust us that all these questions that we're asking are important to giving you the best advice. And then this talks about what happens at the consultation. Let's look a little deeper at the form. At the top here, it says, how were you referred to Marshall, Parker, and Weber? Who's attending your consultation? What are your 3 main goals? This is part of your thinking process. Put those in there, and when you first come in, we'll ask and review those right at the beginning. And then you go farther down the form, and you name you, the client, and your co-client's name. That may be your spouse, and it may be your significant other. Things like your phone, your date of birth, your age. If you're a citizen, very important, especially if the reason you're coming in is to talk about whether government benefits are available to pay for your care. Any medical concerns you have. Planning is important ahead of time, and sometimes the planning devices can result in a period of ineligibility for government benefits for 5 years or so. So we want to know really what your health is like. Ultimately, it's your decision as to whether or not you would get through that 5-year period of ineligibility. Your address, your phone, the county in which you live. The next page at the top are your children's information. So it's important to know if anybody has a disability, or are they on SSI or supplemental security income. The rules and the way we would draft your documents would vary if you have a beneficiary that is on SSI, for example. We also, in number 5 at the top, ask about, do you want your children's email addresses added to our list? We do a monthly Marshall, Parker, Weber law alert that comes out electronically. And many of our clients also want to have a double check and have their children receive the email as well. Not only so that they're tuned in, but also to remind them if there's a change in the law, that's where you would see it. And then there are spaces A, B, C, D on the next page for children. If you have more, just simply add that additional information. At the bottom of this page, we're talking about your advisors. So comprehensive estate planning is important to have everybody on the team. Your financial planner, your accountant, your insurance agent, if you have other advisors. And often our clients choose to bring or phone in their advisors at their consultations. Then we get down to the financial data. Across the top, you will see the various columns. So these are your personal assets. If you have any debt at the top, this is where the column you would put it in. To the right is how it's titled, if it's jointly owned, if it's you and your significant other or spouse, if it's in your name alone, if it's in your co-client's name, or some people in the last column have already set up some kinds of trusts and have some of their assets held by the trust. Down the left are the various types of assets. So we start with the primary residence. Your tax bill will have what the assessed value is. If you have additional real estate, people have often rental properties or a camp and the like. And then you go down to your vehicles or automobiles, personal effects, and then at the bottom, there's a total for that page. And then we go to the next page and we look at your various accounts and policies. It's set up at the top in the same manner. The number of accounts or policies. So many people have more than one checking account, for example. And to the right, at the top, is it jointly held or it's in your name alone? So if your savings account were in your name alone, you would put the amount there in this column. Or jointly or individually held with your co-client or a trust. Savings accounts, checking accounts, money market accounts, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, annuities, retirement accounts, so IRAs, 401ks, etc. You have whole life insurance, term life insurance, group life insurance. All those things are treated differently and have to be looked at specifically for appropriate estate planning or planning for nursing home care. And then at the bottom, if you have any debt, fill that in. There's a chart at the bottom of this page that talks about your business interests. So if you have one, if it's an LLC, if it's a family limited partnership or an FLP, an S Corp, if you pre-funded burial accounts, if you have long-term care insurance, very important. On the next page, we'd like to know your monthly income, yours and your co-clients. And we understand that if you are a younger individual, you're not collecting Social Security or your pension. But those things are important for us to know. And then finally, we need to know about if any property that you own is subject to an oil or gas lease. Have you filed a gift tax return? And have you given anything away in excess of $500 in a calendar month without receiving fair market value in the last 5 years? And if you have, list those assets here. And then we ask you to just let us know who completed the questionnaire. So this is the questionnaire that you will get at the beginning before you come in. So now I'm just going to make sure that we are back to the screen where we are going to now talk about your preparation for the consultation. So after you've completed the questionnaire, you've done a great amount of your preparation. In the letter you receive, you are going to have a statement that you should bring with you or send ahead your current will and your powers of attorney. You may be happy with them. You may just want them double checked and say, hey, is this good? This is what I want. We're happy to review those for you. Deeds, also other things that you can bring with you, or if you have a trust. Sometimes at this point in time, or even when you book the appointment, you may say, is it really necessary? Well, we certainly acknowledge that you may want to come in and just meet us and talk to us, and we can talk to you generally about your estate planning and what the rules are, sort of an interview process to see if we click. That's fine. Just know that we'll probably have to have some kind of follow-up consultation. And what do we do to prepare for the consultation? Well, by we mean the attorney and the case manager. We have two people that are assigned to your consultation. The attorney, and we call them case managers, but you might know them in terms of lingo as a paralegal. So We were going to review your questionnaire that you've sent ahead of time, both of us. We're going to review any estate planning documents that you've sent in. And if what you've said on your goal and when you scheduled the appointment that this is for nursing home planning or there's a health crisis for somebody, also that case manager is going to give the contact person a call prior to the appointment. We call it a triage call, and get a couple of more facts. This triage call would also happen if the appointment that you have scheduled is an estate administration appointment, meaning somebody has passed on. And if that happens, our case manager will call the executor as well. And then we look at your asset situation, again, part of our homework. We're looking to see how the assets are held. Do they pass under your will or not? And we'll make a list of questions that we're going to clarify when we do meet you in person or virtually. And these would be questions that we would see maybe something isn't filled in, or there's a question that you have that you've handwritten on the questionnaire. Then we're going to see who attends the consultation. So as we talked about, it would be from our standpoint, the lawyer and the case manager, and it can be virtual or in combination. So you'll be there. Sometimes it's important to send your authorized agent. The client, the person in the nursing home, may not be competent, meaning they can't understand what's going on, or they're not able to attend for some physical reason. So the client's agent is at the consultation on behalf of the client. We still represent the client, not the agent. And as I referenced already, professional advisors can also be present. Sometimes our clients want to bring invited family or a very close friend. They want a second set of ears, and we're fine with that as well. But realize that if you bring somebody other than yourself or your spouse or the joint client, you are waiving the attorney-client relationship. What's the type of consultation? So if you've checked our website ahead of time, you'll see our various service areas. We're a boutique law firm. We specialize, and we've been in practice for over 40 years in elder law, estate planning, business succession. We don't sue people. We don't do divorces, for example. You might have a planning ahead consultation. By that I mean, what's going to happen if somebody dies unexpectedly? I want to have my documents, my plan in place. Or you may have minor children. Same thing. You might want to make sure that if something happens to you, or in a happy thought, you go on a vacation and your parents are watching your minor children, that they're able to have decision-making authority. Or you might be thinking about planning ahead for trusts. Also, small business succession, getting the family business from one generation to the next, talking about key employees. We also do special needs planning. What if one of your heirs or beneficiaries is a person with special needs? Different rules to make sure that that person benefits when you're gone or during your lifetime, but that their SSI or other benefits aren't disturbed by money or property that you want them to receive. Or there could be a health crisis. Somebody's in the nursing home, or you want to talk about it. You want to talk about how your long-term care insurance applies, whether that needs to be and can be used in combination with government benefits to pay for your stay. We also might be addressing your philosophy on private paying for care, or Medicaid or medical assistance, which are the government benefits that can be available, and what are the rules. You might be talking about a guardianship. So if somebody has lost the ability to make decisions for their health or their estate, and they had not planned ahead, meaning they don't have a power of attorney, then a guardianship proceeding would have to be done in the county in which they're located. The other thing that we talk about is the state administration. So again, I mentioned that's when somebody has passed away, and make sure that things get to the right people, um, just like their will or their trust or their beneficiary designations say, and that the taxes, if applicable, get paid. So I mentioned this initial consultation is 1 hour in length with the attorney and the case manager. We get to know each other. We have the confidentiality. The very first thing we do is clarify the goals and the items on your questionnaire, and we ask questions back and forth. We listen, you ask questions. While this is happening, if you are in person, we have very large whiteboards in our locations. And we find that most people, especially when it comes to a crisis or pre-planning, when it comes to numbers, are visual. It's good to just draw out, if you will, what the plan is. So for example, if you were here meeting with us and you had a loved one that was in a nursing home and it was going to be a long-term stay, and you wanted to know whether you would qualify for Medicaid or medical assistance to pay for that loved one, let's just say it's your spouse's care, then on the board we would draw out columns that would illustrate available assets, meaning what the government considers available to pay for care, and unavailable assets, and list them in columns, do some math, put it all there for you. We often also diagram out your estate planning, how you want your will to be. And it's a process. We may be erasing during this process, but at the end, there's a schematic on the board. And our clients often like to take a little snap on their cell phones so that they can recall as well. So that's important. Once we lay that out and talk it through, if you've done your homework and we've done our homework, most of the time we can give you our recommendation to best meet your goal at that time and lay out your options. Sometimes there's additional homework that needs to be done, and sometimes another consultation may be necessary. So when will you know the cost? Well, if the client questionnaire has been submitted and completed beforehand, and you send in your requested documents, and there are no, I call them oh by the ways. So that would be at the end of the consultation, somebody says, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you that my parents have a trust and I'm going to inherit a substantial amount of money. Does this impact what you said to me? It probably will. I may need to look at your parents' trust or get more information. Those are the types of oh by the ways that could prolong the process a bit. But if we have it all, we can usually quote at the end of the initial consultation. So we will tell you, here's what we recommend, here's what the costs will be. If the only reason for the delay would be those oh by the ways, or if we have incomplete information, or if you've brought in with you to the consultation a big fat binder that can't be read in an hour, and we want to make sure that everything's okay. But we'll put it in a written fee agreement. We're required to do that ethically. So it will say, dear client, we met. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the cost. Here's the scope of our representation. Some people will feel like, well, I'm going to have to decide at the end of the consultation. Well, honestly, it's probably best if we have all the information to decide then, because we find it takes some people some time to get in and start checking these things off their list. But if you do need some more time, what we do at the end of the consultation is we agree on the timing for a check-in. Usually we say 2 weeks, and we let it up to the client. If the client wants to contact us, we won't bother you. Most clients say, hey, if you haven't had an email or a call with me in 2 weeks or a month, whatever your preferred timing is, give me a call or shoot me an email. We also, at the conclusion of the consultation, make sure that we choose a point person. So after we're done talking, from that point on, typically it's the case manager or the paralegal that will be the point person for the office. Um, One client is how we'd like to do it. And then it avoids the, he said, she said, or I always call it the whisper down the lane game. The next question we often hear is, well, when do we start your work, and how long will it take? Well, once we get the signed fee agreement back, and we typically ask for a deposit, which will be about half of the services, we usually get started. Now, estate administration cases are a bit different. If you hire us to administer an estate, if you're an executor or you're an administrator, then our fee is not due until we sign together the Pennsylvania inheritance tax return. The length of time for the completion of your work really depends upon what we've been hired to do, how complex it is. Are there deeds and searches needed? So if there are, we rely upon an abstract company to do a bring down search. That takes a bit of time. Whether offices are open and accessible. These days we have differing rules with the courthouses, with financial institutions, with the County Assistance Office or the Department of Human Services, which are the entities through which we process Medicaid applications. Response time of other agencies, so the Department of Revenue is who we deal with if it's an estate administration, or as I mentioned, the Department of Human Services. So typically, for an estate planning case, from the time you come in, if everything's all here, you'll be signing your documents in a few weeks. If deeds are involved, I'd say about a month or so. There are ways to make that happen faster if it's a true emergency. So in conclusion, the results at the end of your initial consultation with Marshall, Parker, and Weber really depends on the completeness of the material that you provide us. And again, we're happy to talk to you in generalities, but another meeting will probably be necessary. This is not an online check the box, so we're doing a deep dive for you. And your results are going to be based upon your unique circumstances. So at this time, I haven't seen anything in our question box. If you're on and you have a question, but you didn't have time or don't know how to share it, please send us an email at webmail@paelderlaw.com. I thank you very much for joining us today. Stay well.